Okay, so let's get right into this castor oil. I mean, you've probably heard of it, right? Maybe even your grandma, like, swore by it.
Oh, yeah, castor oil, it's definitely got a long history. And what's so interesting is how it's made this journey, from this like ancient remedy to being something that's like in everyone's medicine cabinet these days. It all starts with this plant, the Ricinus communis plant, and you get the oil from the seeds.
Okay, so are we talking, like, way back in time, ancient civilizations using this stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Like ancient Egyptians, they were huge fans. They were using it for all kinds of things. I mean, think fuel, like for lamps, even, and
Yeah.
as like a treatment for eye irritation, and even get this, they used to use it to induce labor.
To induce labor. Whoa, okay, that's pretty wild. I mean, it makes you think, like, how did they even figure that out way back then? But I gotta ask, it also kind of makes you wonder about the safety of it too, right?
Right, and that's where the science part comes in, like understanding what castor oil actually is and how it works. One of the big things to keep in mind is that those raw castor seeds, like straight from the plant, they contain ricin.
Ricin, okay. That sounds a little scary.
Yeah, ricin is a really toxic enzyme, but don't worry. The way they get the oil out involves heat, and that process of extracting the oil actually deactivates the ricin, so the castor oil you and I use is totally safe.
Okay, that's good to know. So, let's move on then to how people use castor oil. I mean, its reputation as a laxative is pretty much legendary, right?
You might be surprised to know just how well established castor oil is as a laxative. I mean, it's so effective, it's actually FDA approved. So, what it does is it basically stimulates the muscles in your intestines, and, well, let's just say it helps things move along, shall we?
So it really is like a quick fix for constipation then.
It can be, yeah, especially for like temporary relief or even for like bowel cleansing before certain medical procedures. But, and this is important, too much castor oil can definitely backfire. You could end up with some pretty uncomfortable side effects like abdominal cramping or diarrhea.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, too much of anything can be a bad thing, right? So while it might be great for occasional constipation, I guess it's not something to just experiment with on your own.
Definitely not. If you're dealing with constipation that's like a regular thing or anything more serious than just occasional trouble, you really got to talk to your doctor. Misusing castor oil can lead to complications, so always play it safe.
That's great advice. Now, I've also heard a lot about castor oil as a moisturizer. Like, people say it's amazing for your skin. Is there any truth to that?
That's where things get really interesting. Castor oil is full of this fatty acid called ricinoleic acid, and ricinoleic acid is known for its moisturizing properties. So it actually makes a fantastic natural alternative to a lot of the store-bought lotions and creams out there because a lot of those are packed with chemicals and additives.
So are you saying I could just, like, ditch my fancy face cream and use castor oil instead?
Hold on now. While it's generally pretty safe and you can use it on both your face and body, there's always a chance of allergic reactions, especially if you have sensitive skin. I really can't stress enough how important it is to do a patch test first. And you can always dilute it with a carrier oil, too, something like coconut oil that can help reduce the risk of irritation.
Yeah, safety first for sure. I'm all for trying natural remedies, but I definitely don't want any surprises.
Smart thinking. Speaking of skin, have you ever heard of people using castor oil for wound healing?
Wound healing. Now, that's a new one. Tell me more.
So when you put castor oil on a wound topically, it can actually create this like moist environment that keeps the wound from drying out, which is super important for healing.
Yeah.
There's even this wound treatment ointment you can buy called Venilex, and it's got castor oil in it.
Wow, so there's actually some research behind this.
Yeah, there's definitely some promising research out there. Remember that ricinoleic acid we were talking about? Well, it's not just great for moisturizing, it also helps to reduce inflammation, which can be a huge help when it comes to wound healing. But it's really important to keep in mind that those wound treatment products you buy, they're formulated with a specific blend of ingredients, not just castor oil. It's not really something you want to try and DIY at home. So like always, if you've got a wound, you really should talk to your doctor before you put anything on it just to be safe.
Right. You don't want to mess around with wounds, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, earlier you mentioned another use for castor oil that I thought was really interesting. Denture cleaning. How does that even work?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the more unexpected uses of castor oil. But studies have shown that it might actually help reduce the risk of denture stomatitis, which is basically an infection you can get when bacteria and fungi build up on your dentures. Candida is one of the big culprits there.
So is it working in a similar way to how it helps with wounds? Like, is there some kind of bacteria fighting thing going on?
Yeah. Got it. It seems like castor oil's ability to kill bacteria and fungi might be what makes it effective for denture cleaning, although, of course, we need more research to be sure.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I never would have guessed that castor oil could be used for so many things.
It's true. And we're just getting started. There's even more to discover about this amazing oil.
Well, let's not waste any time then. What else do you have for us?
All right, so let's talk about one of the most popular things people say about castor oil, the whole hair growth thing. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere, like all over the internet, people saying it's like a miracle for your hair, get those thin, lifeless locks thick and luscious again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's everywhere. People swear by castor oil for thicker hair, for longer eyelashes, even to fight dandruff. But is there, like,
Yeah.
any real proof that it works?
That's the thing, the science isn't really there yet, I mean,
Hmm.
castor oil is really moisturizing, and that can definitely help lubricate your hair, make it less prone to breakage. But as far as actually making your hair grow faster, there's just no strong evidence for that yet.
So, like, all those before and after pictures you see online, all those amazing reviews, it could just be a placebo effect then.
It's definitely possible. I mean, there's no doubt that castor oil can make your hair look and feel healthier just because of those moisturizing and conditioning effects. But saying that it's actually making your hair grow more, that's probably a bit of a stretch, at least for now.
So does that mean that using it for thicker eyelashes or to get rid of dandruff is a waste of time too?
Yeah, unfortunately, the research just doesn't support those uses either. And there's also another potential risk that people should be aware of, especially if they have long hair: acute hair felting.
Acute hair felting. Okay, that sounds a little scary. What is that exactly?
Basically, it's when your hair gets so tangled and matted that it forms this like hard mass that you can't brush. It's awful. It's a pretty rare condition, but it has been linked to using castor oil.
Oh wow, that doesn't sound good at all. And is there any way to fix it if it happens?
Unfortunately, there's no cure for it, and a lot of times the only option is to just cut off the affected hair.
Yikes, that's pretty drastic. So even though castor oil might not make your hair grow any faster, there is a chance it could actually cause some serious hair problems.
Right, the risk of hair felting is pretty low, but it's still something to keep in mind, especially if you have long hair that tangles easily. And that brings us to a really important topic: safety and precautions when it comes to using castor oil.
Definitely, just because something is natural doesn't mean it's safe for everyone, right? I'm guessing there are some situations where you should just avoid castor oil altogether.
You're exactly right. Like, remember how we were talking about how ancient Egyptians used to use castor oil to induce labor? Well, that's not just an ancient practice. Some medical professionals still use it today. So if you're pregnant, you absolutely should not use castor oil in any form.
Okay, so no castor oil for expectant mothers. Got it. What about other side effects? Are there any we should know about?
We've already talked about the gastrointestinal stuff, like diarrhea, vomiting, cramping, bloating, all that fun stuff. That can happen if you use too much castor oil as a laxative. So it's super important to use it responsibly and not overdo it.
And I'm guessing if you are having trouble with constipation, talking to your doctor before trying to treat it yourself is always the best approach.
Absolutely. Self-medicating, even with natural remedies, can be risky. And it's also really important to remember that some people can be allergic to castor oil, especially when they put it on their skin. Remember how we talked about doing a patch test? That's super important when you're trying a new natural remedy.
Mhm.
And diluting castor oil with a carrier oil, something like coconut oil, is a good idea too. That can help reduce any irritation.
Good advice. Are there any other people who should avoid using castor oil?
Yeah, there are definitely certain health conditions where castor oil is a no-go. Like if you have appendicitis or bowel obstructions or inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, you should steer clear of castor oil completely. It can actually make those conditions worse and lead to some serious complications.
So it sounds like while castor oil has some really interesting potential benefits, it's definitely not for everyone, and it's important to be careful and use it safely.
Exactly. It's all about being informed, knowing the risks, and making smart choices.
Well said. Now, before we wrap things up, are there any other interesting facts or myths about castor oil that we haven't covered yet?
There is one more thing I think our listeners might find interesting. There's this idea out there that castor oil can help with belly fat. Have you heard that one?
Reduce belly fat.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds almost too good to be true. Is there any evidence for that?
Haha. Yeah, you know the answer to that one. More research is needed. Some people think that because castor oil is a laxative that it might contribute to weight loss. But the evidence for that is pretty weak. If someone does lose weight after using castor oil, it's probably because they're relieved of constipation, not because the castor oil is magically burning fat.
Ah, so another case of the hype getting ahead of the science, I see.
Mm.
Okay, before we move on to the outro, got to ask you about this whole castor oil draws out toxins thing. I've seen that online too. What's your take on that?
Ah, yes, the good old detox myth. There are all these stories going around about how you can, like, put castor oil packs on your liver and it'll somehow detoxify it. But once again, there's zero scientific evidence to back that up. The liver is already an amazing detox organ. It doesn't need help from castor oil.
So no need to go slathering ourselves in castor oil for a detox then.
Not unless you're just looking for a good moisturizer.
Touche. Well, I think we pretty much covered everything there is to know about castor oil today, from its history to its benefits and all the myths surrounding it. Before we wrap up this episode of Earth's Medicine Cabinet, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
I think the most important takeaway is that castor oil is a remarkable substance. It's got a long history and it can be really useful. But it's not a miracle cure. Some of its uses, like being a laxative, are totally established and backed by research. Others, like moisturizing and wound healing, those are promising, but we need more research. And then there are the claims like hair growth and detoxing, and those are really best taken with a grain of salt.
That's a great way to put it. So what does all this mean for our listeners out there tuning into Earth's Medicine Cabinet?
It means castor oil can be a really powerful tool, but you gotta use it the right way and be careful. Do your research, talk to your doctor, and most importantly, listen to your own body.
I think that's really great advice for anyone who's thinking about trying natural remedies. Well, folks, there you have it, our deep dive into the world of castor oil. We covered its ancient origins, talked about its proven benefits, and even busted some of the myths that have been going around about it. Hopefully you've learned a lot about this super versatile oil, and you feel more confident about deciding whether it's right for you.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your castor oil journey. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and hey, let us know about your experiences down in the comments.
We love hearing from you. Tell us, have you ever used castor oil before? What happened? Did it work for you? And if you like this deep dive into castor oil, don't forget to subscribe to Earth's Medicine Cabinet for even more explorations of the amazing world of natural remedies. We've got a whole cabinet full of fascinating ingredients just waiting to be discovered.
Until next time, stay curious and keep on learning.
And remember, knowledge is power when it comes to your health.